I grew up in a small town of about 3 to 4,000 people. That was the total population. And I lived way out in the country, so I was pretty sheltered at how the world actually is. And I think a lot of small town people, when they graduate high school, they want to get out because they understand or feel as if they're missing out on the world. And for the most part, I had the same sentiment, but I knew I was never going to college. I have no interest in going to college. I have no interest in a college degree. I knew that when I was in school, I needed to get out. I could not do the formal educational system. It was not for me. So anyways, I've traveled to Montreal. I've traveled to New Jersey, like Atlantic City. I've been to Boston. I've been to relatively big size cities compared to where I'm from, and it's crazy the lack of real world knowledge that you'll have if you come from a small town and you're sheltered. So, like I said, I lived way out in the country. Both my parents and my grandparents, and wherever I was living at the time, they all were out in the country. They were all not even in the city with the small 3,000 population. So there's not really many other kids. I had siblings, so that made it a little better, but there was not like next door neighbors or whatever that had kids that wanted to play. And there was one who was a dirtbag. Sorry, but he broke the handle off of my four-wheeler and then tried like chasing us down with it and like running us over with my own four-wheeler. Yeah, he's a piece of garbage. Anyways, my life growing up has always been about chores, work, school, and I really didn't really give a shit about school. I did not care about school at all. It was a means to an end. I couldn't wait for it to be over. And once it was amazing. But because I was free, I could do whatever I wanted. And funny enough, me and my best friend, we both kind of experienced this situation, and then we left. We ended up leaving the town and going on a boys' trip vacation. It was the first one that we ever did, and it was only for 2 or 3 days, but it was amazing to be free to go out in the world and do what you wanted, and no rules, no schedule, or just your own free will doing what you want to do. And I think this creates the small town paradox, where you're unfamiliar with big cities and locations with a high population and very dense cities and stuff. And it's an intriguing thing, but it doesn't feel like home. And then you have places that you came from that were really, really small in population that are comfortable and familiar, and shelters you from the true crimes and realities of the world, all the shit that actually happens. Because if a big crime happens in a small town, everyone knows about it, and it's few and far in between. But crime happens all the time in these big cities with denser populations. A lot more homeless people. I could say I don't think I've ever really seen a homeless person in my small town, really, at all. And so that wasn't really, a little bit of ways from my town. If I drove 30-40 minutes or went to some place that was close to where I lived, but had 20,000, 30,000 people population, then you could see a few of them. But a small town upbringing really limits or creates a skewed perception of the actual real world. And I think part of the reason why I am the way that I am is probably where I came from. The smallness of the town that I've came from, the kind of reserved and quiet background of family that I've came from. Coming from a small town, although you can move and become self-sufficient in a different area and learn the different, there's like a unique culture to big towns or big locations, big cities versus a small town. And I've noticed that whenever I travel to a big city that's a lot bigger than where I'm from, there is always something to do. There's always a party you can go to. There's always a club going on. There's always drinking. There's always partying. There's always, so, and I mean, maybe it's because I'm only there for fun. I'm only there on a vacation. So that's the things that I'm going to be doing on the vacation. But I just noticed it's very difficult to be bored. When you're in a population of 3,000 to 5,000 people, there's nothing to do. You have to leave that and go to like a mall an hour and a half away. And then again, it's just a mall. You just walk around. There's no real there's like water parks and stuff that are like an hour or two away, but nothing's really it has to be a day trip planned. You can go camping. I mean, that's relatively close. You can go hiking a little bit. You go on the bike trails. It's very quaint. It's a very simplistic type of lifestyle. People that come from small towns. Drugs, you just hear less about them. You hear less about drugs. There's a bigger stigma on them because they're so uncommon yes, they're happening. People are using them, but it's just, you don't hear about it in a small town, right? And when you hear the news and you see the news 20,000 pounds, I'm making up numbers, but cocaine was seized at this, it's like, wow, Jesus, that's crazy. Because you can't relate to that. You have no perception of that reality. It's not a part of your personal experiences. And just to think, I've had this thought multiple times that that's someone's just normal just background. That's just their normal life, and it's not my normal. Just like my life is not the normal life for them. I've had a pretty quaint, quiet, reserved life so far, whereas they've probably had multiple chaoses, and there's always something going on. There's always a drug bust or a crime or something that's happening that small town people do not see as much. And this creates this paradox of feeling unsafe out of your hometown. And so when someone's used to the violence, they're used to the high drug rates, they're used to the high crime rates and all this stuff, and they live there and that's their familiar location, then they feel safer than someone that comes from a big town or from a small town to a big city, and all this stuff is happening that they've never really truly dealt with or experienced. Not firsthand anyways. They've only heard about it or seen about it in the news or random sources versus actual personal experience with it. So I think this creates a perception or a paradox for people that grew up in a small town their whole life. A perception that the world is a big place, and it's and a scary place, and there's a lot of shit that can happen, and there's a lot of things that are quote unquote unjust and wrong with the world, and you're kind of excluded from that reality in a low densely populated location. This is just my experience. This is just what I've learned, what I've realized as I've gotten older and had more experiences and gone to more places. Where you come from, your environment is a big dictator on how you will become as a person. And it's safe to say, I would argue that if you come from a high chaos environment, then you're probably most likely going to have high chaos in your life as you grow up, because that's all you know. However, I will say that everyone has the choice, everyone has the responsibility to learn and grow and see the better path to certain life choices. Anyways, that's just a video I wanted to make on an idea that I've had lately. I actually was really excited to make this. I was trying to formulate it really well so that it makes sense, so that people understand what I'm trying to say. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. It's a great video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you can relate, leave some comments. Have a discussion in the comment section. I answer and reply to every comment that I get. And yeah, so we can shoot the shit about this stuff, and I can hear your guys' perspectives on how the world is. Maybe in your area, maybe you can relate. You're in a small town, maybe you're in a big city, and we can have a conversation and shoot the shit. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you.